Ozzy Osbourne found his high school crush 53 years later. What he discovered will break you. Imagine finding the girl you love at 17, 53 years later. But when Ozzy Osbourne finally found her, what she had become will break you. Backhand Index Point writes subscribe to Voices of Darkness for more emotional real-life stories like this. And don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. If you love Ozzy Osbourne, prove IT. Share this video now. There are some names that stay inside your heart even when the world forgets them. For Ozzy Osbourne, that name was Lydia Hartman. Back in 1971, before the world knew him as the Prince of Darkness, before the fame, the tours, the chaos, Ozzy was just a shy Birmingham kid with bad grades, a wild laugh, and a dream he didn't know how to express. But Lydia, she was a girl who smiled at him when nobody else did. The girl who told him he wasn't stupid. The girl who said he'd do great things one day. A girl he lost before he ever had the courage to tell her he loved her as decades passed. The bands, the noise, the headlines, the controversies, her memory faded, but the feeling never left. And then one night, 53 years later, an unexpected message lit up his phone. Ozzy, I think I found her. Sharon's voice trembled when she said it. Lydia Hartman was alive, and her life would shock him. IT began when Ozzy and Sharon were going through old memorabilia for a documentary. In a dusty notebook, tucked under a torn lyric sheet, Sharon found a faded photograph. A teenage Ozzy, skinny, grinning awkwardly, standing next to a girl with soft brown eyes and the brightest smile on the back. Ozzy had scribbled, Lydia, my lucky charm. Sharon looked at him. Ozzy, who is she? And for the first time in years, Ozzy talked about Lydia. How she saved him from bullies. How she sat next to him during lunch when everyone else avoided him. How she once said, you'll be a legend one day, Ozzy. He never forgot that. Sharon asked gently, do you want to find her? He hesitated. Sharon, it's been 50-something years. She's gone or she forgot me. But Sharon didn't accept that. She hired a small private search team. Old records, school archives, hospital lists, public directories. Every clue took them nowhere. Until one day, a nurse recognized the name, and suddenly everything changed. The nurse said, there's a woman named Lydia Hartman in a care home outside Manchester. That night, Ozzy paced the living room like a storm trapped inside a man. What if she doesn't remember me? What if she hates me? What if... Sharon held his hands. Ozzy, she might need you. That sentence broke him. The next morning, secretly, without cameras, security, or press, Ozzy put on a simple black coat, round glasses, and took a quiet drive to the facility. When he arrived, the staff stared, unsure if it was really him. But he wasn't Ozzy Osbourne, the rock star. He was John Michael Osbourne, a boy returned to find the girl he once loved. The hall smelled of medicine and lavender air freshener. Elderly residents sat quietly, some confused, some sleeping, some staring toward windows like they were looking at another lifetime. Then the nurse whispered, she's in room 17. Room 17, Ozzy felt like he was 17 again. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. And there she was, Lydia, but not the girl from 1971. Her hair, once chestnut, was silver now. Her hands, once smooth, were fragile and trembling. She sat in a wheelchair by the window, sunlight on her face. Staring out at the garden, Ozzy's throat closed. He whispered, Lydia? Slowly, she turned her head, her eyes squinted, then widened, her lips trembled, and after 53 long years, she said the words that broke him, John? John Osbourne, is that you? He collapsed to his knees beside her wheelchair. She touched his face with her shaky fingers. You grew up? You finally grew up? Ozzy began to cry, not loud, but the kind of silent crying that comes from the deepest part of the soul. I'm sorry I never came back. I'm sorry I lost you. I'm sorry I never... She put her finger to his lips. You didn't lose me. Life just moved us in different directions. Then she whispered, I followed your music, you know. Ozzy froze. She continued softly, I always knew you'd become someone the world couldn't ignore. As they talked, Ozzy learned the truth. Lydia had married a kind mechanic named Peter. They had 2 daughters. A simple life, but filled with love. Then years later, tragedy struck. Peter died suddenly. Her daughters moved far away. And Lydia, with no financial support, grew older, weaker, and eventually ended up in a care home with no visitors. For 14 years, Ozzy looked around the small room, the plain bed, the fading curtains, the lonely silence, his hands clenched. She deserved better than this, he muttered to himself. He stayed with her for hours, talking about school days, old pranks, the bands he formed, the nights he nearly ruined his life, and how he survived it all. Finally, Lydia said something that crushed him. "I always hoped you were happy, John, because you deserved it more than any of us." Ozzy felt his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. Nobody had said that to him in years. Not like that. Not with that innocence. When visiting hours ended, the staff said gently, "Mr. Osbourne, you'll have to leave soon." Ozzy shook his head. "No, she's coming with me." They blinked. "What?" Ozzy stood up, voice trembling with emotion but strong with resolve. "She's family. She always was. I'm not letting her spend another day alone." Sharon arrived that evening, hugged Lydia warmly, and said, "Welcome home." Within a week, Lydia was moved into a private residential suite with medical staff, therapists, warm meals, sunlight, flowers, and people who cared. Ozzy visited her almost every day. Sometimes they'd listen to old music. Sometimes they'd sit in silence. Sometimes Lydia would laugh and say, "You still look like a troublemaker." And Ozzy would grin, "Only for you." One evening, Lydia wasn't doing well. Her breaths were shallow, her hands cold. Ozzy sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. She whispered, "John, I want to tell you something." He leaned closer. "You were the love of my youth and the comfort of my old age. Thank you for finding me." Tears streamed down Ozzy's face. "I should have found you sooner." "No, you found me when I needed you most." That was the last full sentence she ever spoke. Lydia passed away quietly in her sleep 2 nights later. Ozzy stayed by her side the whole time. When reporters asked him why he looked devastated days later, he simply said, "I lost someone the world never knew, but my heart never forgot." Ozzy funded a charity in her memory, one that helps elderly people abandoned in nursing homes, that he named it Lydia's Light, because she was the first person who ever told him he had one, and that is how Ozzy Osbourne reunited with his high school crush after 53 years, only to discover she lived a life full of pain, loneliness, love, loss, and bravery, a love story that started in youth and ended in a moment of pure, heartbreaking beauty. Backhand Index Pointing Right subscribe to Voices of Darkness for more emotional real-life stories. Backhand Index Pointing Right like and share this video with your friends. Help this story reach more hearts. Backhand Index Pointing Right if you love Ozzy Osbourne. Prove your love. Share this video now and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target.